Recording. Welcome to our weekly meditation as we move through to the 5th week of Lent and just past the equinox. So more on that. But I thought tonight we'd just quickly revisit those the wilderness and remembering another story from that time that's recorded in the wilderness in the book of Exodus, when Moses is away up the mountain and the people ask for basically an idol to be made, and Aaron collects up all their gold and casts it, and out comes this golden calf. So something about idols and foreign gods. And interesting that later in the history of the people, Psalm 115, idols are made by the hands of men. They have, amongst other things, they have ears but cannot hear. Those that make them will be like them. And contrast that with another verse in the same psalm. Our God is in heaven. He does whatever pleases him. In other words, has freedom, autonomy. Idols then are static. The Lord is dynamic. Idols reinforce the status quo. The Lord offers freedom. Idols denote passivity. The Lord confers agency. The world is not fixed and closed, but is a creation always underway towards newness. And perhaps we can particularly connect with that in this spring season. And so we go through our own ritual of preparation, adjusting where we're sitting, and just thinking, where have I landed? Where have you landed this evening? Just acknowledge however you're feeling. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Accept it. Remembering this is the spring solstice, the days are now slightly longer than the nights. And as you perhaps gently close your eyes, let the body soften. Now take that welcome, long, slow breath in through the nose. And then a long, steady breath out through the nose. Sorry, I should have said in through the mouth. Slow and steady. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Intentionally letting go, or naming perhaps anything you no longer wish to carry. Taking pleasure in that long, slow breath in. Maybe even hold it to savor it. And then release out through the mouth. And as you breathe, noticing the ground holding you as well. So you are held and you are connected. And now that idea of springtime, just hold that as a sense of awareness. That word, the word Lent, from the Old English, to lengthen, the lengthening of the days. And with that, ideas of renewal, of growth, you might have been struck these last 2 or 3 days by the light. Perhaps sensing the sunlight being a little bit stronger and longer, bringing energy and freshness. So as you breathe in, picture that light. You're drawing on the energy, the freshness. And as you exhale, releasing anything that's heavy, anything that's sluggish, anything that feels stuck. So a few more rounds of the breath. Breathing in light, breathing in energy, breathing in freshness, and breathing out heaviness, anything that feels stuck or stagnant. And something to feed forward to our longer silence later. What is ready to grow in me? Perhaps a feeling, an idea, a sentiment. Aligned perhaps with the earth waking from winter. Seeds germinating. Leaf buds opening. So a final deep breath in, and on the exhale, a sense of lightness, of possibility. What's ready to grow? Because it's so easy to settle for the status quo, for the convenience of modern life. And goodness, how our consumer-focused economy drives that tendency. So a couple of examples which counter that narrative, that tendency. Firstly, from the Israelites after their wandering, and when they've entered the land, Joshua challenges them, choose the Lord or those gods. And the people reply, therefore we will serve the Lord, for he is our God. Interesting. 3 times Joshua challenges them with reasons why it's difficult, why they might not want to. And 3 times they respond positively, affirmatively. So then finally, now then, said Joshua, throw away the foreign gods that are among you and yield your hearts to the Lord. And the people said to Joshua, we will serve the Lord our God and obey him. But of course, later we read in the book of Judges how again and again the people relapsed and did indeed revert to following foreign gods. And then a second example in teaching of Jesus, another example of the assuming the status quo. This story appears twice, I think, both in the book of Matthew and Mark, when James and John in Mark, and I think in Matthew's gospel it's their mother, comes to Jesus and he says, what do you want? And they replied, let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory. And Jesus called them together, presumably that's all of the disciples, and said, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Again, contradicting the status quo, the dominant culture. And then a few hundred years later, a third example from the desert fathers and mothers. Let's not forget that it wasn't just men in the desert. An amazing woman called Syncletica of Alexandria, born in 380, sometimes called Mother of the Desert, who, when her parents died, she gave away her possessions, moved into a crypt on the edge of the city in order to devote her life to prayer. She said, it's like those who want to light a fire. We must also kindle the divine fire within ourselves. She spoke of the dangers of materialism. She linked spiritual formation to ordinary tasks, talked about prayer as embodied reality, and used the image of women's bodies and work as ways of speaking about spiritual practice. Something very refreshing in today's culture of positive affirmation about Syncletica, saying the soul is destroyed by praise. It's impossible to be surrounded by worldly honour and yet also to bear heavenly fruit. In our modern day world obsessed with outward appearance, we might be struck by her pursuit of inward beauty. And so as we go to our longer silence, a couple of thinking points. Idols and foreign gods. Who are our idols that Joshua might be encouraging us to throw away? Our fixation with economic gain at all costs, underlying racism, nationalism, or perhaps more personally, a challenge to just accepting what's convenient. So easy, isn't it, just to place an online order? So much more convenient than going to a local shop or market. And then thirdly, thinking of Syncletica and the other desert fathers and mothers. I wonder how much time we spend on different activities, on our appearance, or preparing the heart for the coming day in prayer. And so with those thoughts, or music from Salt of the Sound, so I'm going to use the same track that we didn't hear last week, but a reminder, the first verse, this is Constancy. In the waiting, wash over me. From moments that overwhelm, would you set me free? Still this anxious heart. Come breathe your word. May your peace break down these walls and speak to my heart. In the way, wash over me. From moments that overwhelm, would you set me free? Still this anxious heart, come breathe your word. May your peace break down these walls and speak to my heart. So we come gently out of our silence. In the midst of it all, you're my constancy. And so some closing words. May you be grounded in peace and quiet renewal. May this turning season bring you courage, clarity, and gentle joy. And as the light lengthens, may it also deepen in kindness, in connection, and in truth. Amen.